Good evening. I will call the meeting of the Olivet City Council to order. It is July 26, 2022. It is 7 p.m. and we are in the City Council chamber. We are meeting both in person and via Zoom. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Knox,
Here.
Councilmember Clark,
Here.
Councilmember Waldman,
Here.
Chairman Pro Tem Carl,
Here.
Mayor Weil.
She is absent with excuse. Next item, please.
Item number 2 is communications. There are no written communications.
Okay, city managers report, please.
Thank you. I'm going to start. As everyone is aware, we had some severe weather. We had a lot of rain, over 7 inches of rain, I believe, in Olivet. One of the things that we didn't have any horrible issues in the city with regard to streets. I know their individual homes had water in the basements. The community center had some water as well in the gym. So I think, nothing is made, no stormwater system is made to handle the amount of rain we had in the amount of time we had it. But I want to take a moment to talk a little bit about what the fire department did last night, and to let people know there were municipalities near us who had a lot more issues. So I think, it's good to understand when we're fortunate, and also acknowledge the first responders. At 3:08 a.m., 2714, and that's a pumper, was dispatched to provide mutual aid assistance to University City for water rescue at 8056 Hafner Court. There was a series of 2-story apartment buildings with approximately 70 units. They responded. Access was only possible through the north side of the street. Upon arrival, crews encountered a locked gate and forced entry.
My fault, but trying to.
On arrival at the scene, apartments had between 2 to 4 feet of water in the parking lot and courtyard, with water entering the lower garden apartments. River des Peres was about 1 foot from overflowing the banks at this point. 2714, having 1 PFD and 1 Swiftwater rescue tech, we'll talk a little bit about that later, assumed command of the incident and began investigating further. Multiple residents were escorted through 2 to 4 feet of water for further transport to the area shelter. U-City Fire Department arrived on scene. The River des Peres began to overflow the banks. This increased water levels to 3 to 7 feet. Additional rescues were being made, including that of a 1-week-old baby and a 4-year-old child through 5 feet of floodwater. 2 wheelchair-bound persons also had to be removed through floodwaters. In total, 2714 members were able to rescue and assist approximately 40 persons from the apartment complex before water levels increased to non-rescuable conditions. At that time, all residents and some members in the University City Fire Department were told to shelter in place on the 2nd floor. Members of 2714 assisted victims as they were awaited transport to area shelters. One member of 2714, one of our firefighters, joined with the University City ladder truck to allow for continued swift water response. The individual here has been trained in the swift water rescue. They proceeded to 5 different scenes, making multiple rescues of victims trapped on top of vehicles and in residences. There was an emergent call on Vernal Avenue with a female victim trapped on top of a car in a swift current and about 6 to 8 feet of water. The Swiftwater technician from Olivet and University City entered the water attached to rope lines, swimming to the vehicle and performing rescue and removal of the victim. Minutes later, 2714 and 2701, and that's the ambulance and the pumper, joined another call for a child trapped in a basement. Some members of 2714 provided support at command posts, and the Swiftwater tech and members of the University City proceeded approximately 1,500 feet through 3 to 5 feet of water to reach the residents. On the arrival of the residents, the parents informed crews that a child was trapped in the basement with no interior stair access. Exterior access was completely covered by water. Crews used axes, chainsaws, and pry bars to break through the subfloor to reach the child. Only about 6 inches of air remained in the child for the child to breathe. The child was removed and carried back to command posts through flood waters to a waiting ambulance in good condition at the time. They responded to multiple locations to assist with the transport of citizens from scenes to shelters and were a huge asset to the victim removal. As an officer, and this was written by Captain Parker Spencer. If you recall, Captain Spencer was just recently promoted to captain. Captain Spencer is also the Swiftwater rescue tech that helped with that rescue. As an officer, I could not be more proud of the outstanding work of the men and women of the Olivet Fire Department during this extremely challenging environment and dangerous conditions. I just think we should, and I thank you for taking liberty to let me read the whole thing because I think it's pretty phenomenal. So everything else is kind of boring.
Compared to that, yes, I would say so.
We had the Firestone ribbon cutting last Friday. A lot of people showed up. It was a nice event, and they're starting a work training for some of our employees there in the lower left.
Mhm.
The city council did a road trip to Olive Crossing, this is a view. That's the swimming pool in the front with the parking lot, and then the concrete is going to be a variety of recreational space and different things. That's looking the other way, and this is kind of just a panoramic of the whole view. I was sent the picture of the council just a couple minutes ago, and I wasn't able to open it because it was in that format of an iPhone. And so I'll have that at the next meeting for you folks, because it's actually a very good picture.
Is
I
that
just saw it
Carlos
on my
giving
phone.
Greg a citation there?
Yeah, that's that's what they're doing. Yeah. We have a star party coming up August 6th. It's at Warson Park. The St. Louis Astronomical Society is going to be around for an evening of stargazing. This is at Warson Park. There'll be some activities. It should be a fun time, and it's 8 to 10. The MDA Fill the Boot, we talked about this, I believe, at the last one. A crew will be out July 29th, B crew August 5th, C crew August 19th. They'll be at the intersection of Olive and Price for collections for their annual boot drive. And in upcoming events, we have the Park and Recreation Commission tomorrow night. That was their meeting last week was canceled and moved then to reschedule for tomorrow night. The council has a work session on August 2nd at 7 p.m. There's a pension board on August 4th at 5 p.m. The Planning and Community Design Commission is August 4th at 7 p.m. Next regular council meeting is August 9th at 7 p.m. Starry Nights that we talked about earlier is August 6th at Warson Park, 8 to 10. Olivet Night Out is August 31st at 6 p.m. starting at 6 p.m. And the Olivet Fire Fill the Boot is on the 3 days that we discussed earlier. So, so kind of a short presentation, and happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the city manager? I see none.
I-
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Was there that many homes flooded or that many calls and all that?
We didn't have a terrible, I don't have a number, but we don't have, it wasn't a terribly high number of calls that we had to respond to. So that's different, and that's different from the number of homes that actually had ended up with water in the basement.
Right. Well, we didn't have a big trouble along the, our floodplain there on the.
We had
tributary?
some homes back there that I know had water in the basement.
sure, yeah.
But we didn't have any issues with streets. The interesting thing too, with all that rain, you didn't see any limbs or trees fall or anything like that, which is kind of interesting. I was kind of looking for that and we didn't have anything like that.
Pro Tem, if I could
Well,
please. sir.
Short but exciting. Thank you. Next item, please.
Pro Tem,
Oh, sorry.
if I may, please, sir. Thank you very much. Barb, I sent you a little heads up earlier today. On the reporting under the police, law enforcement, at the very, 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 very bottom of the document, she's identifying disbursement money, which is at this point right now about $3,984.50. Can you kind of, clarify for me again, remind us of what that disbursement is? I think that's something we have to be paying back for some reason. What is that? Sure. I just go in our packet.
Asked me about that and I meant to have it up. Ready?
Okay.
And,
While that's getting brought up, I think I found the figure.
And then I'll
How,
also, and then I'm also gonna
yeah.
want to follow up and ask about the fact of how many cases are here and how many are still pending in the courts, and I don't know who would handle that, but go
yeah,
ahead.
of course.
Sure.
the, like a background on how our court, kind of operates, it's, I don't know how to best describe it as a quasi function of the city and quasi function of the 21st, district court. And with that, what we saw several years ago, with the Show Me Courts and the authorization with most of the people here, that were involved with that. The court handles their own banking, which, have always collected their own fines and collected their own, all the different pieces of that between fines, the court costs. There's also several, 3 different sections for the $1 here and the $2 here for training and for crimes victims, those kinds of things.
We
And
came up with a $3 figure or a $7 figure versus a $21 figure or
I
something.
get
like
it
that?
wrong most of the time, but it's either $1 or $2 for, there's a post, which is police officers safety training, standards and training. $1 stays here, $2 goes to the state, and then there's $1 for $1 or $2 for biometric training facilities to kind of advance that, the fingerprinting. Probably what we would know best of. There's also another $1 or $2 that goes to the Crimes Victims Fund. And so all these monies gets parsed out at the end of every month, and the court administrator then disperses this. And this is what she's showing.
Okay.
Here's the money. She's saying, here I've collected $4,475.50. And those excessive.
Yeah, the excessive
Yeah.
revenue from
Mhm.
minor traffic and municipal ordinance violations exceeding revenue percentage limitations.
Yes. That's a strange term. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But what it turns into is there's 2 different systems we run. There's a legacy or old cases housed in Regis, which is on that left column, and then Show Me Courts is the statewide system that was kind of caused the ruffle of the feathers a couple of years ago. And so you see most of the cases, any new case that's from 2 or 3 years ago now is in the larger number, and that's why we see 2. So what we would, expect over time, and this is stuff I'll put a plug in for the budget, is this is the kind of stuff we're tracking, is kind of getting off this legacy system, just like any other any other company would do. And the court cases themselves are a little bit of a that chain of custody of all of those this information is difficult to get into a newer system. So we're just going to let it ride out over the course of 4, 5, 6 years. So with that, that's what we're seeing here. That term excess revenue, I can't speak to directly.
My recollection is we can only collect so much percentage of of these violations, and then the excess does go. So
Now-
it was, it was saying something else to me than maybe its real intent of what it needs to
No,
be saying.
What they call this excess revenue is not what you're thinking of in that sense there of we can only collect 15-20%. There's still a little a dispute on that. But the city of Olivet is 1.9% of our general fund revenue, which is well below any figure of 12%, 20%, whatever that figure might be determined by the courts in the end. The
Okay.
excess revenue means is a court runs almost like, think of like a trust, if you would kind of think of it that way, or it's supposed to be zero. When they say excess revenue, it's above zero, so it's excess. So every month that we go through this process of determining what is excess. Now, things that wouldn't be excess are things like bonds that we hold for people. That's not excess, we're holding it for someone. And so that's the determination in that system between excess and non. Yes,
Darren?
Yeah.
I know that there used to be somewhere we used to collect money for a motorcycle helmet. That was one of those, like a $2 thing. Could that be?
that is not
Yeah,
something I'm
because
aware of anymore.
And they don't know, I know they
Okay,
don't do it
okay.
anymore. Because they made,
We finally figured out that
yeah.
enough people figured out that they need to wear their helmet.
Yeah.
That's good. So it worked.
Can let the council know that the court clerk will be here at your next meeting because she's got some document destruction. And maybe that's a good opportunity for her to go over the reports.
Yeah.
Did you remember that?
Good question.
Anybody else? Next item, please.
Number 4 is city council reports.
We'll start with Councilperson Wallman.
All right, Mr. Pro Tem, I appreciate that. I attended the most recent Planning and Community Design Commission meeting of last Thursday. I need to shift my phone to another screen. Where there were several issues on the agenda. One of them was being 46 Stony Side Lane, and that was postponed. I believe the owner asked for a little bit more time. There was a brief discussion with regards to 9680 Olive Boulevard. That is the BP Emico station, where there's a family that is invested in purchasing that building and wanting to do some changes and modifications, turn it into, I'll just call it a fun candy store, but they'll call it a convenience store. So they're having good dialogue with the Planning and Community Design Commission at this point in time. Some additional recommendations were added on to the consideration of approving them moving forward with beginning their process of improvements. It is a family that owns it, and they're getting money against their house to do this business and this investment. So they're truly investing in our community in a very personal way. Under old business, Mr. Trejo did give a brief conversation about the cannabis and all of its zoning regulations. Identifying that this is going to be a special use permit regulation that City Council has given back to them for looking at and getting back expeditiously back drafting an ordinance to the council before any other potential cannabis harvest would seek to consider coming into our community. So that was a very brief conversation. The next meeting, it's my understanding that they will get further into details in the documents that CAO has provided to them in their consideration of input on how this final ordinance would look like and be written and have in language. The childcare daycare conversation was moved to the very next meeting just due to the time and the extent of the meeting that we had. That is all I have to report for that meeting. I do have one other thing to report to everybody. Let me get to another screen, please. Forgive me. Okay. We won some money. So it is official and it is in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch today that municipal league and cities have been going up against Charter, who lost their case on the phone taxes, which has been going on for over 5 years. And the court said, no, VoIP is phone. You've got to pay back all those taxes that you owe. It's a cost of nearly $40 million to municipalities in St. Louis County for the underpayment of taxes between 2005 and 2020. So we don't know yet what, everyone's, win will be or what they get back from what they weren't getting all along. But clearly St. Louis County is to receive 4.1 million. City of St. Louis will get 1.6. Chesterfield, O'Fallon, St. Louis, Charles will receive about approximately 1 million, according to the trial court's judgment. And then Winchester, the original plaintiff, will receive about 17,500 after fees and expenses. So that's the latest good news that is part of your municipal league and why you pay for it. So with that, Mr. Pro Tem, I yield back. Thank you, sir.
I have nothing to report.
I attended the EDC meeting last night. The major feature was another developer, Greg Gowitz, who came in and spoke about his experiences with the city. We received another glowing report, in my opinion, as far as our city working with developers to facilitate their activities as well as possible and not putting up what they consider any unnecessary impediments to their progress. It's the second good report we've received, and so I think that has gone a long way to we have gotten rid of our reputation as a hard place to be a developer in. The other thing I wanted to, are there any questions about that? If there's, the other thing I just wanted to report is I was asked to be on a panel for the American Institute of Architects St. Louis chapter meeting next month. Yeah. Next month, as part of a sustainability carbon neutral. In fact, I'm not exactly sure. This is something Carlos got me into, so I'm not exactly sure the total subject of the meeting yet. We haven't had I haven't met with the people, so. But I just want to let you know, I will be participating in that as both a representative of the city and as of myself as developing such a house. So anyway, that's all I have. Any questions? Next item, please.
Item number 5 is the monthly financial report.
Mr. Mahan.
Good evening once again. My name is Darren Mann. I'm the finance director for the city. And as we look at our full year now, all the way through the end of June, we can see where things kind of shook out as we start our begin with our audit process. Revenues 409,000 above our budgets. That's kind of where things were have faded off over the last 3 or 4 months, but still comfortably positive. And then after we record our encumbrances, we'll see that expenditures are $370,000 below where we thought they would be. And 85% of that variance is due to personnel related expenditures, which again, that's something that developed early in the year and remained throughout. And again, that's after we record those encumbrances that were approved last meeting. That's a net favorable balance of 787,700, which is on par, really close to where we thought we would be when we approved the budget again just about 4 weeks ago. Look at our dashboard here, that far right column, our percent of budget. Everything there is comfortably above 100%, but not too much in excess. The couple misses there for the pension, and then the pension is only source is the property taxes, which when we talked about last month briefly, that there was a 2.4% or so miss, which is exactly what we see there, on a usually predictable number, and a number faded out later after we set our tax rates, which is very unusual, according to what I've seen, going back many, many years, as far as the records that are available to me has never happened. So we're finding out what that means for this year, which is probably the more important thing. But it does mean we did miss the budgets there. And then the stormwater parks is below the 100% because the OMCI money was budgeted in there, which is a reimbursement program that we're not quite ready to ask for the reimbursement. We will still have that money allocated toward us and are putting that there. But the sales taxes inside of the stormwater parks fund landed in that 12 to 13% above where we thought. And that's where we see, these other fire operations. That's where that comes from. Again, dashboard favorable, well in compliance with our reserve policy, the bottom right, $4.5 million in excess of where we thought we would be. We looked at this during our budgeting and we saw a little bit different number, but this is now where we are to the end of June. We'll get a brand new set of numbers when we look next month in July, because it has the FY23 figures there. I talked about most of the stuff on the individual kind of column, or sorry, those categories. Sales taxes faded out, and if we were to look in the detail there, just barely made it on $2-something million of sales tax. We made it by, I think, like $20,000. So we saw a really good beginning of the year that faded out toward the end, and that still continued in. I will say July is good, so we're going to start on a good year, or a good note next month. But it was the use taxes and our gas taxes that really propped up that category.
Can I stop you right there?
Sure.
It was the gas taxes. I want to know more about that. It
Yep.
was the
Oh, good.
gas tax.
I read. Yeah. I read your mind. So we'll talk about that here in a second. So property tax, we talked about. Utility taxes, which we just talked about a little bit, or Councilmember Waldman did. 3.1% above our budget, where we thought, and that's has not happened very frequently, even on warmer weather or some of the extreme weathers that cause our utility taxes to go up, has been more than offset by the decrease in the telecom taxes, which again has been talked about many times. Mr. Mulligan came and talked from over New City, who's kind of headed up a lot of that stuff for the league in the region. But the utility taxes, namely the electrical receipts, were very good throughout the year. And then I talked about the other stuff. The only other thing on the expenditure side, I say, is that $215,000 was forwarded to the pension trust, which is collections on the real estate and personal property taxes on all the citizens, all the real estate holdings here in the city of Olivet. That is a little lower than we thought, and that's because of the same kind of miss that we had because of the fade out of the post board of equalization figures. So let's go to the charts. Next one. The next page there's our gas tax chart. And usually these, I will say, Mayor Weil asked for more charts, and I have a lot of charts, but most of them are pretty boring. So we'll get a nice looking one here. In this, the bright orange that we're looking at is our gas tax. And you can see it had a really good year. And it started in October, and that's started right after October, and that's when the gas tax was enacted. So there's a statewide kind of issue that was, here's the benefit to what we've seen here. And this number is not a wild increase number. I think it's $30,000-$40,000 above where we thought, but it's nothing. Went from a high 100,000s to low to mid 200,000s in total revenue. And then the next one is, if I'd have known what you're talking about, I would have brought up the one on the telecom. But this is our boring franchise tax. I will only say, it will notice that we get these, obviously it looks like we get them quarterly with nice spikes. There's two remitters here, and this is a 5% franchise tax on the video, or what we call it, cable TV delivery in the city of Olivet. There's two remitters, Charter and AT&T. And this figure, if we look at it over time, has went very far down, almost the way we'd look at these orange right here, because that industry, as well as Charter and all the ones that Mr. Mulligan and all the cities are fighting on, has changed a lot in the technology that actually delivers it. And it favors customers, and it favors the industry to not charge those. So what I'm gonna say is over 7 years, this is what these charts look like, and the bright orange again is where we're at. And you can see that that orange, those orange peaks are much lower than they were in any of those other years for the most part. Interestingly enough, these figures are follow recessionary patterns too. This is one of the first things people cut when things get a little tight at home. So that's that. And then that's really all I have there. We can go through any of those figures there, but that would be what I'd have for the end of the year, June financial report.
Yeah, page above, before that one, had, no, you were in the right place. Oh, you got to share, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, then go down one more page. One more after the franchise fee. Okay, stop it. Stop. Okay, I wanted to know why we had the variance on the licenses, the 84,000, and then in the paragraph of meaning the negative at the end of the year.
Sure. I will ask that we go to page, let's say like 18 of this report here. It might be like 19 a little bit. Where we're gonna go is from this is summarized. Now we're gonna go to the detail, one page up. So previous. There's our licenses there at the top. Okay. So there's our 84,000 negative, and you can see the components of those are these accounts, and it's in the merchants and manufacturing. We missed it there a little bit. This was a number that was really hard to develop last year because we changed the ordinance. We didn't know what our collections were last year. So we were kind of shooting in the dark on 2 years worth of data. The year before we had, there's two things with that. One, like I just described, a year ago, we were shooting in the dark. Now we did it again this year. We didn't know if we were going to make it. We hadn't collected, we had some of the forms turned in, but not quite entered. And we had not collected the money by the time we were adopting our budget. So this is a compounding problem over several years. And two, what we find is there's a huge compliance issue, and it comes down to who's filling out that form of how much we actually get. And so what this represents is 2 or 3 major businesses filled this form out a little different. Now that's not a really good way to run a system, is it? That's not a good fee-based system at all. And so one of the things, if you remember with our grant funding for our budget this year, is for more analysis of this and kind of streamlining of it. This is due for a look at, and I think we're going to be a few steps closer to this. And I think we're probably going to have the same trouble this coming year because we're shooting in the dark again. So that's a good question, and that's the long story.
Those are my questions. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, any other questions? Or did you have more?
There's an investment report following this.
Right,
But I have
I
no
mean,
more for the
Does
monthly.
anybody else have any questions for this? Next item, please.
Item number 6 is the quarterly investment report.
All right, Mr. Meehan, you're up again.
All right. The first times, or maybe the second time we'll see here, is our investment ladder, as rates are much more favorable here than they were. We'll see some pretty dismal. If we go one more page on that investment report itself. So this is a kind of a summary of our holdings. You can see our interest rate yields on the right side are pretty bad shape compared to what we'd get today, but they were fantastic just a couple 6-7 months ago. So one of the advantages there, we'll keep this going and get a hold of these better rates. The bottom part of this is our bond proceeds, which is for the community center and parks improvements. And you can see we have a couple coming due in the next week. And then even a little more after that. And one of the advantages here is that was a little bit by design and a little bit just by kind of where the yield curve left it at that time. I think we'll probably end up based on cash needs, we'll take a little bit of this down, but we'll put some of this stuff back out in the next 6, 8, 9 months. And that's more of a mechanics issue there, but I do expect this to go up with what I'd be summarized there. I do expect the general fund, those yields on the right there as we add new ones on to keep increasing. If we go to the next page, you can see some of our maturities, we don't have a bunch, but at the bottom of that, did it not get in there? Can we go one more page? The very last page, there's the statement. It kind of summarizes there. I thought I put it, there it is, good. All right, our yield curve is sitting here. I have two circled here, and you can see 2.75 was, and this is as of last week, or a week even before that. So they may have changed a little bit, but I'm suggesting we keep going forward on the 12-month, which is the ladders themselves. That's at 2.75, which is the highest in number we'd see on any of those. And then one of the other things that I'd like to continue with that idle cash is to keep going out a little bit further. And you can see this, the yield curve, they say it flattens out there at 24. And actually now I think it's maybe even a little bit inverted. So where if you go out past 2 years, it actually goes down. There's some advantages to getting that, but I'm not as interested in going out more than 2 years at this point. I'm more than happy if anyone would like to, because it's the middle of a recession. Isn't it nice? Wouldn't it be nice to have 3.35% coming in for the next 3 or 4 years? But we don't quite have the magnitude that it makes a ton of difference. So my suggestion would be to continue with those rungs at that 12-month, and then continue with another couple as yields are favorable and high, as that curve kind of flattens out, which right now is at 2 years, is to kind of continue to put that put the CDs or the $250,000 chunks per month inside of that. It does tie up that cash for 2 years. So if we were to go up to the second page again, we can see, I believe, what kind of money we're talking about in idle cash. And then before we get there, we're going to keep it's included in there? No, it doesn't. We have about our budget is about $10 million total in operations. Go down to the bottom of this just a little bit. It got chopped off of there. And so I'm sorry. We used to have our ICS. Oh, there it is right there at the top. Yes, right here. So we have $12 million in this ICS earning 1.15%, not 15%, 0.15%. Versus what do we just look at? Around 3 on just by putting it to use. And we have $11 million sitting in this ICS, and that's general fund. The other 1.6 there is for the bond proceeds. That's just to pay the bills for the construction until the next cash comes in, which again is next week. So that's going to run out. That's going to run pretty good. We have about a year sitting in the ICS. So, 250,000 to 500,000 at 2 years isn't any, it's pretty reasonable. It doesn't put you out too much if something kind of bad happens. So that's my suggestion. If nobody has any objections, we'll continue to kind of do that. And then hopefully these yields keep staying high and we don't have to worry about it.
Okay, are there any comments? Then I would suggest you go ahead and follow through with your suggestion.
Fantastic. Thank you. Good.
We'll go from there. Next item, please.
Item number 7 is here from citizens.
Well, I see no one in attendance here. Do we have anyone online that would like to speak?
Mayor Pro Tem, I believe Greg Yowitz would like to speak. There
Okay.
he is. I'm going to promote you to panelists, Greg.
Good evening, Mr. Pro Tem. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes. Can you hear us?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think you know the drill.
Exactly. Greg Yowitz, 6 Heather Hill Lane, got my camera on so you can see me. So first, if I can share screen, there we go. Oops, that's the wrong one. There it is. The Barb Sondecker City Manager mentioned the photo, which hopefully you could see on the screen now, that I took yesterday, and I sent her, unfortunately, due to a busy day, not until the last minute, but at least wanted you to see it with the crane and the parking garage in the background, which now she has, so that it can be shared again. But just wanted you all to see it since it was talked about. The other thing I wanted to mention, because it has been a hot topic here in the city of Olivet now for well over a year, and the question I've been asked so often by so many residents and by all of you is, Greg, when is coffee coming back to the city of Olivet? And I just thought I'd let you know that at about 3:45 this afternoon, I signed a lease for the space formerly occupied by Starbucks, that will be occupied by a new coffee company, a coffee company I'm very excited about. The company is called Reva Cup. They have a store in Maryland Heights. They have 7 stores in Kansas City. It is a wonderful local Ethiopian coffee company. The coffee is aromatic and smooth and amazing. And they do little pastries and other foods along with their primary business, which is coffee. So I expect the owner, Nebu, to be reaching out to the city to start talking about getting the renovations done and hopefully having him open in Olivet in hopefully the next 3 or 4 months. And I just thought you all would want to know, sort of hot off the presses, that the lease has been signed for about a whopping 4 hours. But since it was a council meeting tonight, I wanted to let you know.
I thank you. I know there are council members who are quite interested in that, so. Glad you brought it to our attention.
So if you happen to be near the corner of Dorset and McKelvey anytime in the next couple months, on the, oh geez, I guess that's the southwest corner in the shopping center where the McDonald's is, in the corner, sort of, you'll see a sign that says Reva Cup. And I'd love you to go in and try the coffee and let them know you're from Olivet and excited that they're coming if you are so inclined.
So I bring my city council card and say hello.
Absolutely. Nebu and I haven't met his wife yet, but he's a wonderful, wonderful guy, true success story, and is really looking forward to be a part of this community. As soon as he heard the space was available, he called me immediately. So I'm excited for him to be here.
Thank you, Greg, for being a great business partner with the city of Olivet and listening to the citizens of Olivet and doing your best to bring what we want versus what a developer tends to want. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Any other comments? No, Mr. Yowitz, again, thank you for coming and telling us, and we will surely see you again.
I'm going to go eat dinner now. You guys have a great night.
Okay, then next item, please.
Next item is item number 8, approval of the slate of candidates to fill city board and commission vacancies beginning August 1st, 2022, with terms as noted.
Share the screen real quick. As I say in the memo, this is the slate of appointees that you folks had seen before in work sessions. You can appoint these as individuals, or you can approve the slate as a whole. It is up to you. Just so the public is aware, all the people on this slate are being reappointed, having served on these different boards or commissions for a prior term. We have 3 people in parks. That is, a couple of those folks were filling out, hadn't done a full 3-year term. They were appointed and they have done 1 or 2 years. I think that was Bill and Travis on that. They were appointed to fill out the term of someone who left early. Whereas I believe everyone else on this list has served a full prior year terms.
Chairman Pro Tem, when did ZBA go to 5 years? What am I missing? Has it always been 5 years?
I have to admit, I don't have those term links committed to memory. I assume we took this out of
Oh,
our ordinances as far as term lengths.
I mean,
Yeah.
I could see that we made it 4, but I just don't remember it 5, but okay.
So, any other questions or comments? I will accept a motion.
Can I-
If you would feel more comfortable, you could approve the slate of appointees to fill the boards and commission vacancies beginning August 1st, 2022, with terms as noted in ordinances.
Can I ask you one more question? Because it's a person on your
Sure.
board. And forgive me if I don't know that you're still in our community. Shannon Hadley is still with us?
Yep.
Okay, okay, all right. Thank you, thank you.
Okay,
Didn't mean to be picking on you there, Pro Tem, but yeah, okay.
all right. I will accept the motion.
I will make that motion with it based upon what is the term limits identified in the ordinances for these commissions.
Please poll the council.
Councilmember Clark. Councilmember Knox,
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman.
Yes,
Chairman Carl,
Yes.
motion passed.
Okay. Next item, please.
Item number 9 is the approval of reappointments to the Olivet CID Board of Directors.
Apologize. For the agreement and the redevelopment agreement with the development at Olive Crossing, the council appoints or kind of essentially really ratifies the appointments for the board of directors. The appointments, as you may recall, the board, the city has 2 representatives on the board. You've appointed myself and Darren Mann. The other appointees are chosen by the developer, and that's by the agreement. So in essence, Jason Braidwood appointment has been recommended by the developer. The full Olivet Community Improvement District Board of Directors did vote at the prior meeting to reappoint Jason Braidwood and Darren Mann.
Councilperson Waldman.
where do these meetings take place?
They have been via Zoom.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
The board meets typically once a year. It met twice this year. And so there've been 3 meetings, I think, thus far.
And I want to commend you for the fact that we are very transparent with this and you have, I've noticed what you did. You put it up there. It's identified even better, even though it is not our responsibility. That is the responsibility of Greg Gowitz and his Community Improvement District Board.
Okay, any other comments or questions? All right, I will take a motion, please.
I motion that we continue with the recommended action of appointment of Jason Braidwood and Darren Mann to the Olivet CID Board of Directors with terms ending June 16th, 2026.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please poll the council.
Councilmember Clark. Councilmember Knox,
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman.
Yes,
Chairman Carl,
Yes.
motion passed.
Next item, please.
Next item is item number 10, hearing from citizens, part 2.
I don't know if our 2 online attendees would like to say anything. There is no one here in the audience. Let us know if you would by raising your hand. Seeing none, I will move on. Next item, please.
Item number 11 is review and approval of minutes.
Okay, did anyone see any corrections? that needed to be
I
made?
saw no corrections.
Okay, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Chairman Pro Tem, I make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes of July 12th, 2022 as written.
It's been moved and seconded. Please poll the council.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes.
Councilmember Knox,
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman.
Yes,
Chairman Carl,
Yes.
motion passed.
All right, next item, please.
Next item is the city attorney's report.
Oh, you're looking younger. What are you doing? Okay.
Okay, Bill Kistner, Paul's associate. I have no report, Chairman, but would request a closed session pursuant to 610-0211 for attorney-client communications and also 610-0212 for discussion of documents relating to a negotiated contract.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move that we move in the executive session pursuant to 610-021.1.12.
It's been moved and seconded. Please poll the council.
Councilmember Clark. Councilmember Knox.
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman.
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Carl.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay. We will be adjourning into closed session. Forget what else we say about that when we, we'll be back and report our results. But it will be very short periods just to adjourn the meeting. So there's unlikely to be any business after this that will be of public interest at that point. So you're welcome to stay or leave. Thank you.